if I'm an LSU fan, I'm believing the hype because of all that you got coming back, specifically what you got coming back at quarterback in Garrett Nussmeier, who I believe, man, he could be the best quarterback in America next season, which would translate obviously pretty favorably for our friends in Baton Rouge. So if you're one of our friends in Baton Rouge or just a college football sicko, go ahead and make sure that you are subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel. It's college football year-round, baby, and we say this a lot, but you're watching a college football video during the month of February. You're probably a sicko like one of us, so we appreciate you being subscribed. So like I just said, Garrett Nussmeier, I truly believe, has a chance to be the best quarterback in college football next year. If you've watched the show, you know I'm high on Lenora Sellers. You know I think pretty highly of what Oregon has at quarterback and Dante Moore and what he's going to be. I feel good about a lot of different quarterbacks, but in terms of guys that are like proven commodities, there may not be a more sure thing than Garrett Nussmeier. Threw for over 4,000 yards last year. And oh, by the way, he did it without a running game at his back. LSU was in the hundreds when it came to rush yards per game. So when you look at what he was last year in relation to what you would hope he is next season, you would hope that Caden Durham is allowed to be a little bit more healthy and there's something on the ground behind him to maybe offset the defense. Like, let's be real here. LSU being semi-one-dimensional in the SEC, everyone's talking about what Brian Kelly didn't accomplish that last year, and you throw different games at him in terms of, you know, the way that it looked bad. The Alabama game is the big one. It's impressive they won 8 games last year with how bad they were running the football. It's impressive because of what Garrett Nussmeier just did. So when you look to why there's optimism around LSU next season, I said at the top, man, get pumped. Like a lot of times in February, people try to temper expectations. You try to not set yourself up for disappointment. I mean, I'm telling you the opposite, man. Do not drink the Kool-Aid responsibly. Chug that thing, man. Whatever you got in the fridge, have all of it. Why? Because of who you got at quarterback. You look at last season, what it took for teams to win at the highest level, it was experience at the quarterback position. I mean, all the teams in the semifinals, Will Howard, Drew Aller from Penn State, talk about Riley Leonard at Notre Dame, like all the teams in the semifinals had experienced starters at starting quarterback. LSU will now have that in Garrett Nussmeier going into year 2. It's also worth noting year 2 in the same offense under Joe Sloan because Mike Denbrock goes to Notre Dame, and we sat down with Nuss at Media Days, the Gumbo Gunslinger. You like that nickname, by the way. We talked about it, and he said, hey, listen, the offense is going to be very, very similar, but it's not exactly the same. Joe Sloan, taking over the offense a season ago, kind of put his own spin on things. There is no different spin you have to adjust to here for Garrett Nussmeier, his second year as the guy in Baton Rouge. A lot of this is going to be muscle memory and quite frankly, emotional memory when it comes to being quarterback at LSU, which is not a small thing. That's the other thing that makes me excited for him next year. Anytime that you get a chance to do a activity or a skill more frequently, you get better at it. And also, you get more help, you get better at something. Whether that's your job, whether that's your marriage, whatever it is, if you have a chance to do something more and get more help around you, you are going to have a better chance for success. So Garrett Nussmeier, having now, again, a full season under his belt, he knows what it feels like to walk into a night game at home in the month of November with a lot on the line. That happened this past season when they were playing Alabama and they were thinking college football playoff that first month of November. Now it didn't go the way you wanted it to go, but the point still stands. Garrett Nussmeier is trying to adjust emotionally and physically to that whole, thing he went through last year being the guy at LSU. So that's the first part. The other part of this, speaking to more help, the weapons were good last year. I think they're going to be better this year. Aaron Anderson comes back, your leading receiver. You went out and got a Berrien Brown, a guy that I'm super high on from Kentucky, a big-time playmaker for you. Nick Anderson was a touchdown machine at Oklahoma. So the receiver room shouldn't take any step back. I think, if anything, it'll take a step forward. And then, again, I just spoke to the run game. If you can have Caden Durham stay healthy, you feel pretty good about where you stand there. Here's why I'm so excited about LSU in addition to all the things that I just mentioned. Because everything I just said around LSU pertains to what they are within the confines of those walls in Baton Rouge. And that's very important. I think you focus on yourself. You keep the main thing. Successful people focus on the process. They don't worry about other people. Now, on this show, we get to worry about other people and other teams for you if we're talking about LSU. And you look across the SEC, I think LSU has a unique combo of the best roster talent to go with a returning quarterback. Because you look across, Jackson Dart's not coming back for Ole Miss. Quinn Ewers not coming back for Texas. You look at everything that LSU has in-house, I just mentioned, plus a year 2 starting quarterback. All the big dogs now, from a Georgia, pun intended, I suppose, to a Texas, a lot of those teams are playing new quarterbacks next year. Alabama, all those teams are going to start someone else under center. So while you feel good about their roster, there's no guarantee that Arch Manning is a dude from day one. I think he's going to be good, but is he going to be a guy that throws for 4,000 yards his first year in the SEC like Garrett Nussmeier did last year as first year as a starter? I don't know. Feels like a little bit of a stretch. The knock on Garrett Nussmeier, too, to go back to the stock, because some people will come back to me and say, well, JD, Garrett Nussmeier's numbers are inflated just because of the fact they threw the ball so much. Okay, I don't think that's incorrect. But I would also say those same people that come back and throw stones at Garrett Nussmeier for his interceptions understand he had nearly 100 more attempts than the second closest guy in the SEC. So, yeah, did he lead the SEC or tie the SEC lead, I suppose, in interceptions? Sure, but he threw the ball 525 times. Anytime you throw the ball that much, you're going to open yourself up for some mistakes, some tip passes. It's football. The ball is shaped in a funny way, and it's 18 to 22-year-olds, and you got a quarterback his first year in the SEC. If you throw the ball that much, stuff happens. Okay, that's just the reality of the beast. So to put a bow on this, I don't think it's a Garrett Nussmeier governor for LSU to get to where they want to go. If it was strictly about Garrett Nussmeier, LSU would be a team that plays, I believe, or at least contends for a spot in Atlanta the first weekend of December 6th to be exact, a team that would be in the college football playoff. Garrett Nussmeier is good enough. He's not who you got to worry about. For LSU to get to where they want to go, which is what I just mentioned, win the SEC, college football playoff, win natties, it's going to be about what it's always been about in the SEC. It's about those big human beings up front. Science hasn't changed. Big people still move small people. And the thing about LSU, which I think is something that kind of flies under the radar in the discussion as to how we evaluate them really every single year, is that 2019 season, as special as it was, that totally muddied up the picture with how we evaluate LSU. Because for the longest time, what did we say about LSU? Man, if they could just get a quarterback, they could just get somebody to get that offense to roll at a high level, then they could compete for national championships. Then they got one in Joe Burrow, had arguably one of the best Heisman seasons of all time, one of the best college football seasons of all time as a team, and everyone said, see, we've been saying this for a while. They got a guy, and look at LSU, they're a wagon now. Okay, great. That's true. But then you have a Garrett Nussmeier, you had a Jaden Daniels 2 years ago. Why didn't LSU have the success they needed to have? Because of the line of scrimmage. We mentioned the run game last year, what it was. Look on the defensive side. They allowed 4 yards a carry. Like, just because you got this beautiful logo and these awesome colors for LSU, the optics of what they've been still has to translate to modern-day college football. You still have to line it up in the trenches and meet the price of admission in the SEC. The game has changed so much in the new era with the 12-team playoff and the portal and all this. Like, from month to month, college football has changed a lot. But in the context of an SEC schedule, week to week, it's the same game. Yes, you got to have a quarterback, but you better have what you need in the trenches. If you can dominate, awesome, but you better at least have enough to show up to the party. If LSU has that, Garrett Nussmeier, I truly believe, is good enough to get them to where they want to go. And where they want to go is what I've already mentioned, Atlanta December 6th, and then play well into January, eventually end up in Miami for a national championship. I don't think it's that crazy. I truly don't. So that's my take on it. LSU fans, make sure you are subscribed right here. Hey, go out check out the Bengal Tiger, our LSU on 3 site. Shay Dixon and the entire team there doing the Lord's work. So get a membership there, and we'll see y'all on the message board. For Cato on the ones and twos, for myself, JD PicKell, we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. We will keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time.